Greetings. I was just in my parlor today doing a little bit of organizing, moving things around like we do. We get so much stuff. And I've been trying to reorganize my tarot decks a little bit. Not a big job because I don't have that many. But nonetheless, I wanted to try to keep the ones that I use closest to me, that I use the most often. And I was a little bit inspired for a minute looking around at some other tarot channels that a lot of people, as they do from time to time, list favorite decks, the decks they work with the best, the decks they could go without. Some people are spring cleaning and getting rid of some decks they don't like anymore, they don't use anymore. And I'm not at that point. I don't have that many decks, and I tend to only have the decks that I use. Very rarely do I get a deck that I don't use for something. But anyway, I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll make a video listing like my top 10 decks or my top 10, the 6 I can't live without, etc. And I just started to mentally go down what would I put on that list if I were going to do that. And of course, number 1 on my list has to be my absolutely faithful companion of 51 years, my hoi polloi deck, which is a knockoff on a Rider-Waite deck. That I've had just about my entire adult life, and that has to be on there. But to be honest, I don't want to count it on there because I don't read it that often. The reason I don't read it that often is it's old. It's 51. It's 51 years old, and for most of my tarot reading life, 35 years of it, I will say, it was my only deck. It's my only deck. So I used it shuffled a million times. It's not a young and spry anymore, like who is, but it's showing some wear and tear, and I don't want to, I don't want to have any cards tear or anything. So I just use it for a special occasion. But it has a place of honor on my table. It is always in my right hand here where I read. This is my reading table. You've seen this many, many times. And so it stays. But does it have to count? Going down the list, I would have to say my second favorite then would be probably my crows. My crows. I am my love for the crows, my relationship. I've had many experiences with the crows nearby in my neighborhood. They're very much a part of my life here at Crown House. They're a part of my witchcraft practice. They're a part of my tarot practice. I've learned so much from the crows. But the problem with that is, what am I talking about when I talk about my crows? Because if you watch any of my tarot videos lately at least, you know that I don't work with one crow deck. I work with 3. Tend to work with 3, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But anyway, I tend to work with 3, so does that count as 1 deck or 3? I can't break up that trio. I cannot break it up. So I can't do my top 5, 6, 10 videos of my favorite tarot decks, my favorite tarot decks. So I decided to do my top pairings, my favorite pairings, because that's what interests me a lot. I don't do them all the time. I do normally read just 1 deck at a time, but I have found over the years that some of my greatest, most successful readings have come from pairings of either tarot, different tarot decks, or tarot and Lenormand decks, or tarot and an oracle deck. And I have for you today my 6 favorite pairings, and why I have them, and why I love them so much. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. My top 6 favorite tarot, oracle, Lenormand pairings. One of the simplest ways that I like to combine cards is when I'm combining a tarot deck with a Lenormand deck. And I use the tarot deck really for the reading and the Lenormand deck for clarification of something in the reading. I think that's pretty commonly done now. It didn't used to be really accepted within the tarot community, but now it's pretty commonplace to do. I like in my readings, I might like to combine a Smith-Waite tarot, and you can see the colors. I really like the colors of this. They're nice and muted, and they're gentle. It's a nice gentle reading of maybe some traditional ideas, but it's not like you know, too bright. It's in contrast with my hoi polloi, which is my favorite version of this. It's really a knockoff of a Rider-Waite Smith, but it's getting a little old now. It's 51 years old, so I don't use it in everyday reading too often because the cards are getting a little delicate. So instead of that, I like this, which is really in contrast. The colors are really in contrast to that 70s vibe of the colors in the hoi polloi. But anyway, when I use this deck, the Smith-Waite Centennial, I do like to use the Under the Roses Lenormand. And as you can see from that one, the colors, I'll take the box off. Let me turn this over. If you look at the backs, it's a nice soft muted back. This is a soft muted back. And then when you look at the cards themselves, they almost match. I mean, they have that very gentle, soft, muted colors. They're just really, it's a gentle reading. It's a nice, gentle reading, okay? The thing about Lenormand, which are so wonderful, they do tell as straight as it is, a straight, if you just want an answer, nothing but an answer, deal 3 cards and you're going to get a sentence. It's going to give you a sentence which sort of clarifies what you get when you have tarot, which is you're getting impressions. You're getting impressions and relations between cards that usually to get a good tarot reading, you need to study the relationship between the cards, and there's so many meanings involved. This sort of narrows the field a little bit when you use the Lenormand in combination. And I just laid out an example here to show you what I would do. Let's say, for instance, this was a part of the reading where I was asking this card representing perhaps how the querent sees themselves. And here we see the Ace of Swords having good ideas, you know, ready to start, ready to, using their thoughts and maybe starting on a process to educate themselves, or really are using their knowledge in some way. And here we have other people seeing them, let's say, other people seeing the querent as the Four of Swords. And they see them like maybe separating themselves away and just, resting, and maybe the querent sees themselves as like, here they may think they're lazy, or they're really not doing any acting on their thoughts. And here the querent thinks the thoughts are really the thing. Let's just say, I don't have any context. I'm just trying to put context into here, because to read Lenormand correctly, context is everything, right? So if I make that a context, whatever I have in my reading, this is the context, then how do I want to explain it? And here I just pulled out the moon, the bear, the owls. In this context, I might say the difference of how the querent is seen, what has caused that, what is the reason for that. We could say here the moon, something unknown or unseen, or something uncovered. Maybe we want to uncover some person in charge, the bear representing some person in charge, and we see the owls, which is gossip. So maybe there are stories being told. Maybe there is one person who is sort of very influential in this person's life, in the querent's life, that we need to discover who that person might be, who might be spreading some kind of ideas around, or gossiping or chatting with others about what their motivations are. Let's just say. You see, it just gives a little more clarification into the reading. My next favorite pairing is all about the crows. All about the crows. If you have been watching me for any time, you know that I'm very attached to the crows in the neighborhood around my home. I've had a lot of close relationships with the crows. I just really love the energies of the crows, and I share that love of the crow with the creator of this deck, MJ Cullinane, who, this deck is wonderful because this deck really relates to crows as they are around us, as they can be found. She studies the crows, and she some of these are upside down, sorry. But look, they're very vibrant. They're very, it's a very lovely depiction of crows in their life, their relationship with each other, as a community, the relationship as part of our community, and it's their everyday life and the lessons that they teach us, which that is very much my, I have a sensitivity to that as well. I really love that. So this deck I can read alone. I have to say though, I don't often read it alone. I like to use it very much in pairing with the Murder of Crows Tarot. This is not written by MJ Cullinane, but this is a Los Scarveo deck, and I really love it. And this deck is in really stark contrast with the Murder of Crows because it is actually pretty much a shadowy. Look at the difference between. We see these images very much in shadow. And it's not that it's a negative deck per se. It's very deep, where this is very, you know, this is a very positive deck. It's very positive because it shows, you know, the compassion of the crows and the relationship of the crows and the, you know, it's a very sympathetic to crow deck. This deck is about the crows as messengers from the other world. The messages they bring, the connection that they have with the other world and this world. And so the messages are a little more, it's a little deeper kind of a message, a little beyond what we will just see in watching the crows out in the yard. So I really like to use these two in combination because I also, if you have been listening to me talk about my tarot practices, I tend to see shadow and light in all decks, which is one of the reasons that I don't, and in all cards, which is one of the reasons I don't really read reversals, because I see that there's shadow and light within every card. But I love to see the combinations of these two decks together. So I will read these as a pairing very often. So that's a very common pairing for me. But what's becoming even more common for me, I have to say, is not using it just as a pairing, but using it as one of three. And I combine these two decks with the Urban Crow Oracle, which is also, I will point out, by MJ Cullinane, the same author as this Crow Tarot. And, oh, I love this so much. And I use this particularly in my yearly forecast. It's always in my yearly forecast. And what I will do is I will put out 3 cards. Let's just take, I'll take 3 random cards. Move these out of the way. Let me see. I will just, you know, I will do this for every month of the year. I'll do this in the end of December normally for the coming year. And I will choose a card from this deck. This is for every month. I will do this every month, but I will do it on one day. The forecast is done. And I'll shuffle these, shuffle these, shuffle these. And I'll get one of these, okay? And then I will also take an oracle card, okay? Whoops, that one flipped, so that one wants to come. So that's play, okay? Play is the key word. So the key word for the month of, let's say this was January, I have the 8 of Cups, I have the Queen of Pentacles, and I have play. So then come January, I will just deal these out. Then come January or February or March or whatever this is. I even have these in my journal. Let me see if I can show you my journal real quick. In the beginning of my journal, let's see, here we go. You can see here, this is my forecast for 2023. I have, it's hard to see, but I have 1, 2, 3. There's, here's from the Crow Tarot, the Murder of Crows, and the, underneath it is it's just a key word, but it is the Oracle deck underneath. So it's 1, 2, the third one underneath. 1, 2, the third one underneath, because I just had to get it on the page. But then when I will go to January, let's see, January. And there it is, my 3 codes for January this year. And that year I had the 10 of Pentacles, I had the Page of Wands. This was this was the Page of Wands, and here was Anomaly, was my my card from the Urban Crow. So I had then, what was my forecast for January? I did that in the beginning of January. I do that every month of the year. I love this pairing. It's not a pairing because it's 3. But oh, I love it. They work so well together. They read so well together that I actually call this my narrative of crows. Well, however I use them. And when I was going to first start making my list of my favorite cards for the year, whatever, I could not break these up. I couldn't just say, well, it was the Crow Tarot. It was these 3, which I count really as one, even though I do read them individually, but I read them so often as one that I can't be without that. So this is a pairing I cannot be without. Absolutely cannot be without. Okay, one of my well-used decks that is the Druid Craft. And here you even see I have even edged it, and I've trimmed these cards. And I really like these. I really like the deck that reads well. I like the illustrations a lot. It's right in my wheelhouse of my love with history, all things history and Celtic and Druid from my many, many years spent studying it, and a lot of connections to these places in my actual ancestry. It's a very important part of what makes me me. Anyway, I do read this deck. I like to read the deck, but I'll tell you my new favorite way is using the Druid Craft here as a focal in a grouping. Okay, so I will take a card. I will just pick a card, you know, like I do this a lot if I want to do a daily draw, or it's more for me, instead of a daily draw, I do like maybe a weekly draw, or a draw that might be good for the Sabbath or whatever. But I pick out a card. Here I have the 4 of Pentacles. And then I use 2 decks in combination with this deck. And it just so happens that these 2 decks are also by the same author and the same illustrator. And I don't have the book with me for the Druid Craft because I have it trimmed, so I don't keep it in it. But here I have the Druid Animal Oracle deck, and I have the Druid Plant Oracle deck. And the reason I like to combine these together in a reading is because, first of all, they're beautiful to look at. But secondly, you know, we get a focal point here of this, and then we get some more information from the ancient wisdom that goes along with it, from the animals and the plants. If we're going to live on this planet, and you know, as a gardener and as a witch, I have a very strong connection to both the animals around me and the plants around me, the plants on the ground under my feet, and the animals around me standing on the earth with me or flying above me. Very strong connection. And this reading is something that I like to take from each deck. Look, I'm going to show you now. This is the Animal Oracle. And just look at these. These are just beautiful, beautiful illustrations. Beautiful illustrations. It's not just a beautiful illustration of, let's say, a goose. We'll put that there. The book itself that goes with the Druid Animal deck has a chart in the back that has the quality or ability or gift from each of these animals. And here we have the goose, and then I can look on here, and the goose is very much aligned with the element of air. Of course, this would be, which makes sense, it's a flying animal. Okay, and here we have pentacles. So anyway, we look in here and we see what the goose has to do with, and we look at goose. It's about, okay, interesting. The goose has to do something about being creative and taking some kind of control, some kind of power over something like commitments to raising a family, or commitment to some kind of a partnership, which is very interesting because that's kind of in line here with the 4 Pentacles. And then I would take a deck, so that's very much But I would contemplate this. I would leave it out. And along with that, I would take a card from the Plant Oracle. And look at these. These are so gorgeous. And as an herbalist, you know, I save herbs. And I'm not an herbalist per se, but I save herbs and study them and use them when I can. And so this you would take here you would take well, let me pick one. I'll try to pick one at random if I can. Big cards. You wouldn't want to use these every day because these are very big. Actually, I find these big cards easier to shuffle if I shuffle them that way. Okay, so I would take here, and I have nettle. If you see my recent videos, I'm all about nettles these days. So a nettle, and I could look in here and see beautiful book that goes with this deck, by the way, the Druid Plant Oracle. I really, really recommend these Oracle decks. These are perfect. And here I look in the nettle, which is in alphabetical order. There we go. And the nettle, it's about communicating on a deeper level, going deeper into things or a tricky situation, to get into it, to really get into the situation. And it's like making gold from lead. Okay. It's a transformation. Oh, and likewise, they have in the back of the book, I think, a chart. Yes, they do. Nettles. And hidden gifts and adventure. Just talking about hidden gifts and adventure. So anyway, I would put these cards out, and I would contemplate what the meaning of these three are together. Instead of taking just a reading, looking at how one relates to the other, looking at the plants and the animals around me. This would be the focus of me, and these two help to explain it. It's just it's a really fun point of contemplation. And also, these illustrations are so beautiful to look at. They make beautiful cards to line up along your altar or whatever, and feel the energies of them, of these. I had the sow. I had the sow in my altar for quite a while. This was a card that showed up to me during the Omen Days last December, and that was really rang true for me. This energy of the sow really showed up very well this year. So, anyway, that's a really fun, it's a real fun grouping. I'll call it a grouping rather than a pairing. Another one of my favorite pairings is, I don't do very often, but I like it. I get good results when I use it. First of all, I'm using the deck here, which is actually, I've been told by this author, it's not the Enchanted Forest Tarot. It's actually called the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. That was an issue with the publisher, I believe. But anyway, this deck is so well loved by myself. And look at the book. It has full color and an explanation. And also this book depends heavily on numerology. All of the book is, all the fours are grouped together, the fives are grouped together, etc., which is really a lovely learning tool. So I recommend this a lot if you're trying to really learn a little bit more about the tarot. But anyway, the illustrations are just so much fun. It's so close to just what you expect to be if you were to venture into the forest. A lot of these things, we see familiar characters based on fairy tales. Here we see the troll under the bridge, and here we see the gingerbread house, and here's the tree with the old one in it. We see like a Snow-White or whoever that is. We see the swans, and we see, wizards, and it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful, there's the three bears. I cannot recommend this enough. This is such a well-loved deck. If you don't have it, please go below to my link I will provide, and please get yourself one of these decks. If you love tarot decks, you have to have this, especially if you collect decks and you don't have this deck, you're missing. Every person that I've ever shown this deck to in my tarot classes or just in my circle of friends has now owns this deck. So it's just so much fun. It is so much fun. But one of the reasons I like to pair it, I want to get back on topic, is because it is so much fun, it's easy to get caught up in a story. It's easy to get caught up when you see, here you see Hansel and Gretel being left in the woods by their father, whoever left them. Shame. So it's easy to get caught up in that story, okay? It's easy to cut up. Here we see this one. I love this. I have this on top here because I love it. Here we see, this is the Six of Boons, which is the Six of Pentacles in what we're used to. But here it is, hiding out away from, you know, she's lost. She needs help, and she's hiding. And the bunnies come and surround her down in this hole, and they keep her warm, right? They're taking care of her, keeping her warm, helping her in that way. And this is I love to use this to read, of course, but I also love to read this in just a, you know, put the card out for the day. This is a real good one for the card of the day, to see what kind of energies are around you. And in order, sometimes, if you're too drawn into the story, it's fun to put it with a Lenormand, and I particularly love this Lenormand to go with it. I love this Lenormand for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's really cute, and the artwork is well, but also, here we see artwork by Lisa Hunt and written by Arwen Lynch. This is Arwen Lynch. Many of you from Facebook or here from YouTube are familiar with Arwen Lynch. She's really good, really active in the tarot community. She's very creative, very fun. And this this deck, the illustrations on here too that Lisa Hunt did go very well with the it's like a fairy tale-esque fairy tale Lenormand. It goes really good with the theme of the fairy tale here. So I like to pair that together. They complement very well. There's Aladdin's, I have the ring, the Aladdin, and you know, it's just so nice. It's really nice. Real good. It complements the deck very nicely. Okay. So if I were going to use this, let's just take a card off the top here. If I were going to use this card and I wanted to give myself a little more information about this card, I would again put out the 3 decks, which we like to do with Lenormand. Works really well in 3. You can put out any amount, but making a sentence is what is the magic of Lenormand. And here we have a dog, we have a scythe, and we have a book. Okay, so we want to know a little bit more. What more can we say about this card if we're trying to, you know, contemplate the card for the day or whatever? Look for these energies around us. Here we see this woman hiding out and getting some help from the bunnies, from whoever's around her unexpectedly. The dog is very much somebody very loyal to you. It represents your like a friend, a really loyal friend. So, and here we have the cutting of the scythe, cutting away maybe perhaps what is, you know, not a loyal friend who just might be close to you somewhere that you could count on to help you clear away what needs to be taken from negative from your life. And the book perhaps implies that there's more to the story. There might be more to the story than this. It's just you don't need help. There's something more to come. You need some more information. How maybe you don't want to go back here again, or, you know, what else is there? What other kind of underlying things can you learn from this information? Okay, so this gives me a little bit of, just a little bit more to think of. You know, I don't normally just put out 1 card a day. I know a lot of people do. If I'm going to put 1 card, I like to surround it in some way with some other things, because I think I don't want to focus too much on 1 card. I want to seek that card, the energy of that card within the day, which is a little more complicated than information you can get from just 1 card, I think. Okay, so this is fun. This is a real fun thing. And again, I recommend both of these. I think I might be able to give you a link for the Lenormand too. But definitely this deck you want to get. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Those of you who have been with me a long time know one of my absolute favorite decks is the Wildwood Tarot. I've owned now 3 of them. Story. If you've been around a long time, you know why. But anyway, I love it. I love this deck so much. I think I have trimmed this one and edged it. It's not for everybody. I understand it's not for everybody, especially when it comes to the court cards. People get a little annoyed with the court cards. But the illustrations are gorgeous. It's really to the point, in your face. This is why people don't like the court cards, because they're represented by animals. But all you need to do is take my class in court cards, my workshop in court cards, and we're going to take care of that for you. But it's just, the artwork is beautiful. The energy is beautiful. The energy is so earthy and in your face real. It's just in your face real. It makes it so, I don't even know how to explain it. It's energy that sticks with you for a long time. I think the first time this is the deck, if you were around me in the beginnings of my adventure with this deck, you will see that it forever changed me from being a single deck household. I had just reading my one hoi polloi. As soon as I saw this deck, it opened it up for me. And I saw the depth of what was the meaning behind some of these cards in a way I will never, ever see again. I'm looking for, of course, I've already passed it. But what I'm talking about is, of course, the Three of Arrows. The Three of Arrows. After seeing the Three of Swords, or the Three of Arrows, in this way, with the heart on fire, the arrows piercing the heart, and the blood dripping down into the snow to nourish the roots below, I realized how complex tarot is, how there's just knowledge that continues to be offered to you. The longer you read, the more you know, the more you understand. And it's an incredible journey. So these read very well by themselves. I like to use the deck as an issue card in the center. Don't take this action, but do take this action on either side. Here we see the Queen of Stones, the bear, very protective of her young, very protective of her land, her property, her home. Don't piss her off. She will protect at all costs those that she loves. And here we have do not do this, and here we have a celebration card, the Four of Bows, which is a celebration, all about a celebration. And this is not time for celebrating, but this is actually at the time, the Two of Vessels, perhaps opening yourself up to something new, some kind of new. Don't be so stuck in this position, but open yourself up to something new, a new relationship, perhaps a new way of thinking, a new way of defining the relationships you have, whatever. When you get a reading like this, there's a little bit of, I'm not sure where we're going with this. So this is a real nice way to make a pairing. And it's sort of a new pairing to me. I got these decks, 2 decks actually, because of another project, a tarot project that I'm working on for the year with the, and I thought, oh, these would be good additions for this. And one would be the Wild Unknown Tarot and the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit. And I know that these are not new decks to anyone here. I'm probably the last person to come to this party. And I wasn't that interested. I saw people do walkthroughs, wasn't that interested until I saw somebody do a walkthrough with the animal spirit and let me get this. And the animal spirit, Wild Unknown Animal Spirit, had these beautiful these images. Oh, I think the bear, one of these just stopped. It fell out at me one day after I got the deck. I was curious, and that image and that the energy that came with that animal, just I think it was the elephant, perhaps, just stayed with me for days and days and days. So I knew this was something I had to have. Okay, so I wanted to read from this, take a card from this one. And also then I got, because I thought it was the same, you know, the same energies, perhaps in a little different form. What is this? The Watermelon Tarot. And again, these are not, they're sort of, they're not, pip. It's not a pip deck, but there's some illustration. But some of them are rather pippish, if you want to say. Some of them, like here, 2 of Cups. It's just a little pippish. Here, 5 of Wands. What does that mean to anybody? I'm not sure. So it wasn't really standalone for me. It wasn't that interesting of a deck. But I thought I'm going to see how it works with the Animal Spirit deck as well. And I found that the 2 of them worked really well together as a pairing on their own, and especially the usage I'm using for this yearly project I'm working on. But now I say, how do they work as adding an energy, a layer of energy to this reading here from the Wildwood? So let's put one here, the Chariot here. I hope you can see. I have a little different kind of a layout here. And here, let's put one from the here underneath. Can that even be seen? I'm wondering if that can be seen. Not sure. But let's see. I put these underneath. We know that's the bear. Okay, that maybe will help. Okay. So, adding, here we have the Chariot, and here we have the Camel, the energy of the Camel. Very much, these are very much going to act as, we have the focus of the reading, but these are very much going to act as another kind of a focus, another layer of focus, okay? So we have the, from the Wild Unknown, we have the Chariot, and in the Wild Unknown, it's all about, yes, the strength. It's about your confidence, the confidence you have, the will that you have, where you need to be focusing your mind to take you where you need to go. Focusing your mind, not this force, this Queen of Stones, which we associate very strongly with something that is instinctual. It's instinctual. It just is it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction when a mother bear senses danger to her cubs. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. Here, this is very much a concentrated force of will within the Chariot. And then we see the Camel. The Camel also representing this ability to survive just about anything. That Camel can go for days and days and days and days and carry heavy, heavy loads across desert lands without any water, taking the water with, having everything that camel needs really to survive for very long periods of time. That's stamina. So this kind of things, any kind of change we see, if there's going to be some kind of a change coming from here, rather than just celebrating where we are, we're going to be able to go forward because we have the tools we need to take us forward into whatever this represents. Okay, so I like this. This was a really nice, this really is, again, not a pairing because we have 3 different decks, but it's a relationship. It's a marriage of 3, so to speak, and it really works very, very well together. The last pairing that I want to show to you today is something absolutely new to me as a pairing, and it really surprises me how much I like it. That's why I wanted to share it with you today. There's no secret that this deck that I have in front of me is something that's, you know, I love it. This is the Shadowland Tarot. It's one of my most favorite deck to use. I love to use it in shadow work. I love to use it particularly coming out of shadow, like after the first of the year. I tend to use it at that point. I'm trying to get back into the light a little bit. But what I love about it the most is, first of all, the book is wonderful. It has like, it doesn't just have the colored card. It also has the keywords and what the card means, and also the shadows that it might work with. But my favorite part about this is the reflections. It has like reflections at the end on each card, just points to reflect on, which is really valuable when you're doing shadow work. I love that a lot. The cards themselves are endearing. They're beautifully illustrated. They're endearing. The idea of it is the shadows that we have, that we carry inside us, the little monsters within us, things that keep recurring patterns, and things, you know, shame and fear and uncertainty and those kind of things that cause us of feelings in us, these things that happen over and over again, which are our shadows. They depict the shadows as little monsters in this deck, but they're not scary monsters. They're monsters that you absolutely fall in love with. They're adorable. They're adorable monsters, if there is such a thing. If you don't have this deck, run and buy this deck. Run and buy this deck, because it's not for everybody, but I like to say it's not for everybody, but it's not for everybody yet, because once you get it and you familiarize yourself really with the images, they're not ugly, they're cute, they're endearing, and you recognize things in yourself. They're so personal. They make you recognize bits of you that maybe you're trying to avoid. I don't even know how to say it. Here's the Five of Pentacles, for instance, and the Five of Pentacles, we see people here enjoying a picnic with their family and camping out, and of course they would be typically fearing the monsters that are lurking in the woods around them. Perhaps they keep the fire lit to keep them away. And the very monsters that they fear, here we see Bigfoot, or whatever you call that monster, looking and feeling left out of the fun. He's looking longingly at them having fun and wishes he could join them, because he cannot. He's a monster. He cannot join. These are just lovely, lovely, lovely cards. Run and buy this. Anyway, it reads so well alone. It reads so well alone. But also, I found a very surprising pairing that I want to tell you about. First I want to say, I'll tell you how I use it in a minute. But the surprising pairing was a deck that I barely use. I use from time to time. And that is the Nicoletta Ceccoli Tarot. And I'm not sure what it is that makes me stop using it. I don't think it reads quite as well for me as it might. The illustrations, again, are lovely. They're based off of a painting. I think some of them were paintings originally, which were made into tarot cards, and then more cards were added, of course. But they're very childlike. They're very whimsical. They represent a childhood, dreams of a child in their origins. Okay, it's like I think it's described in the little book that comes with it. It says, this is the dreamlike world you'll find when you read a tarot card. You set sail from the shore of logic into a sea of intuition and interpretation. There are traditional meanings associated to tarot cards, but it is the individual's inner sight that brings true understanding. And it is like, I describe it as, you know, life with a 4-year-old, like life in a nursery. You know, it's like fantastic illustrations that, you know, are not real at all. It's like how a child might envision in their creative world. And I think of the life of a child. My own one daughter, when she was 4, we used to have what we called coffee meetings, because I was in school and she came home from daycare, and she'd sit with me at the table, and I'd have coffee and she'd have a cocoa or something, and we would, since she was the person in the room, I discussed all my problems, and she offered a lot of wisdom for a 4-year-old. She had a lot of wisdom because she saw things so simplistically. And that's one of the things, the honesty, that honesty of a child, the truth. It's like out of the mouth of babes, right? We get that truth. And that's kind of what this deck is about. Now, the drawback to the deck, I don't want to go into a review of the deck right now, but I do want to say what I did not like about it was the little white book is so, it's offering traditional meanings. And you can see very well when you look at the cards, there's nothing that shows those traditional meanings really in this photo. It doesn't take the traditional meanings very seriously. But so what I like to do in my pairing, first of all, is like take a card from the Shadowland. Let's just take this, what is it, 10 of Cups we have. and read the shadow of that. We know what a Ten of Cups is. It's usually not a shadowy, it's not a shadowy meaning normally, but if I look in my book here, and it says a shadow, it would be longing, unfulfilled loss, frustration, solitude, failure, something like that. I look at it as 10 cans of paint, overflowing with paint, so many projects, so little time to do it, and instead of seeing all the projects and the joy of things that you have created, here we see things that have not yet been done. I've not had time to do them. I have failed to create everything I meant to create. It causes me a feeling of failure rather than feelings of success. That is the shadow of it. Look at the cute little crab running up with this paintbrush. Oh, these are so cute. But anyway, this would be a shadow, looking at a shadow. Okay, and then I'm going to take a card from this Out of the Mouth of Babes, Nicoletta Ceccoli Tarot. And here I have card 7, which is the Chariot, which is the Chariot card in the Minor Arcana. And that's usually a very positive card as well. But the Chariot card is about driving forward, moving forward on with, get going. And that would honestly say, get going. On here, that would help this card out a lot. We'll just get there, get the paintbrush up your little crab and start painting away. But look at the card. She's on a little toy horse, which is not the problem, but she's not facing forward. She does not have command of this little donkey cart or whatever she has on wheels. She has her hands instead on wrapping up in her little dolly. She's looking sideways instead of frontwards where she's going. She almost looks so unsure. Her expression is that of someone who is unsure that she's even steady enough sitting. She's just sitting on the horse. If somebody were to move that horse, it would go forward, or donkey or whatever it is. She's unsure of that direction. She's unsure of whether that's what she wants to do or not. So how would I read these two together in a pairing? Yes, we have the ability, we have all the tools around us to succeed. Look at the beautiful colors spilling out of those paint cans. We have so many paint cans, so many, and we see water behind there, so we know we have the creativity and the knowledge, the inspiration behind us. That intuition, we know what to do with it. We do know what to do with it, right? We have the eagerness of this little crab. And by the way, I love that it's a little crab, because that's the Cancer sign for Cancer, the water sign. All about knowing, having that knowledge and that inner guidance very clear. But here she does not have the confidence to go forward. She does not have the confidence to go forward. This is what's letting her down. This is what's letting her down. This childlike trust that it's going to be okay. It'll just happen. It'll just work out without me taking any action to make it work out. So that's why I would read something like that. Anyway, it's just fun. It's just a fun pairing. But I have to say, it works so well. It really works so well for me. And it works so well for me that I am feeling now that I'm going to, every time I get this deck out, I want to work with it more. I want to work with it more. Be sure to put out this little white book that comes with it. Don't open it. It's not worth anything. This is just look at the cards. And if you're not sure what to do with the cards, pair them up with another deck and see how it plays together with another deck. It's just prime. It's just prime for pairing. It's just crying out to be paired. Okay. The shadow and the dream. The shadow and the dreams of a child going forward. The shadow are things that happened to you in childhood that caused you to have the inhibitions in the first place. And here we have the dreams of a child would also maybe holding you back. So put that together into one reading and then move forward. So I really like that. Anyway, I don't know if you like any of these pairings or not. I'm interested if you pair cards together. Some people never do. Some people always do. I do sometimes. I don't do it often, but when I do it for purpose. So I would be very interested. I have all these cards, the decks listed below. If you want to purchase a deck, if you don't have it, you want to get a better look at the deck, follow my link below and get some more information about the deck. Okay. So thank you very much for joining me. This was fun. This was a fun exercise. And I will have some information on some upcoming workshops. I didn't mean to mention it and drop it, but that will be coming shortly. So just look out for that. You'll have a lot of notice, so don't panic. You don't have to panic. Okay, so anyway, thank you so much. So there you have it. Those were my favorite tarot Lenormand Oracle pairings. I'm wondering if you'd ever do the same, if you ever combine any tarot cards with Oracle cards or with Lenormand cards or with charms. I'd love to know in the comments. And also, by the way, in the description box, I am providing links to all the decks that you saw me use today. So if you are interested in purchasing them, I'd appreciate it if you use my links. That will help me out a lot. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. As always, I am Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.